Michael Allen from Manpower. We are a national brand, yet locally owned franchise. We are familiar with the challenges businesses face. It's tough recruiting and retaining qualified employees. That's why working with Manpower is a smart, cost-effective solution. Our entire focus is talent acquisition. We'll manage your hiring and training and provide ongoing customized support. Since 1966, we have been your community-invested partner, uniquely positioned to help eliminate the hassles and save you time and money. Let us help. Contact Manpower today. Hello and welcome to The Hub with Michael Allen, and for a special edition of The Hub, and I have a very special guest, Phil Quinn, today, and actually, I'm going to become the guest because Phil is hijacking The Hub, and he's going to talk to me today, going to have some questions. It's not going to be just all one way, but Phil's in town, and it was a great opportunity to get to see you today, and just a little bit about Phil and I. We worked a lot together when he was with Brewer Broadcasting. He always did a great job helping us at Manpower, and then also with his social media consulting business on Vine, and which he's tremendous at, does a great job for us. And so, Phil, it is awesome to see you.
It's great to be here. I came in because I had a friend that lost a loved one, and it was right around the holidays. And I said, I just don't know, living in Phoenix now, I don't know that I can just fly in and fly back out. What if I plan a couple of weeks in January, right in the new year? My daughter is a teacher at Richmond Community Schools. And I could watch her. She's also coaching swimming. And not once did I think to look at the forecast. I had no clue until a couple of days before, and I went, oh no. But can I tell you something before I tell you my first job?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Because the first job is what I've been prepping for, having watched all of the episodes of The Hub. I knew this question was going to be asked, so I'm ready.
Okay.
Can I tell you something about the people here? They are hard. I am so impressed. I've been here for about a week, and you guys are resilient, and the temperatures that are outside, and it's brutally cold whenever you're watching this. It was kind of a real shift from the holidays where it was pretty mild, and businesses are open. And people are taking your credit card payments, and they're serving coffee, and they're working in the streets, and they're on the construction site. And I don't know that there are many places where things didn't shut down. And I talked to some friends that had a lot of snow in Tennessee. Oh, everybody's home. They've closed down businesses. People aren't going to the office. And I went, that's not here. And I think about what this community has gone through since I've been gone, and I've been gone a little over 3 years. Of course, everybody went through a global pandemic.
Right.
There was, the officer shooting in Sierra Burton, just terrible, and just a monstrous, hazardous fire. And Richmond still gets back up. I don't know how you do it. It's hard. And you're hard, and the people here, I know we've got construction, and there's tons of things we can complain about, but people are still getting up and going to work. And I think what you do and what the staff does at Manpower helps that. So, I'm not trying to get all weepy and sappy. I mean, I've got strong takes, Michael. But I can't believe how tough and hard, in a good way, that the people are here.
Right. I mean, it was interesting. Just yesterday, I do some mentoring over at Westview Elementary, and I don't have kids in school anymore, and I'm not on those messages that go out about school delays or whatever. And so I was just checking to see, hey, I'm just curious, is there a delay? Is it going to affect my time here? No, we're regular schedule. We're going, everybody's going to school. And
right.
It just surprised me because I think you probably think back when you were here, it seemed like there's a lot of delays, or just the sight of snow. Sometimes they would delay or call it off, And so I was kind of impressed that they went ahead and just.
Well, don't you think
forward.
part of that is, okay, so we're going to try e-learning, and there are a lot of snow days that turn into e-learning days.
Yes.
But we did find out that while there's still education that you can teach, it doesn't replace the in-person experience. And we have a lot of remote workers, and I'm a remote worker for the company that I work for too, and I get that. But there is something about building that earnestness and that toughness to say, yeah, I'm going to have to wear an extra layer and I'm going to have to leave 15 minutes early.
Right.
But that's the job.
Yes.
So, and I know, there's people in every generation that looks at the next generation and goes, oh, what a bunch of punks. Right.
Yeah.
And, but the generation in front of us did that. And the generation, so it's just different.
Right. It's just your perspective,
Yeah.
generation to generation.
Right.
And they were complaining, our great grandparents are complaining about the generation.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I think things definitely changed in some ways that are somewhat concerning.
Yes.
But overall, it's just, it is the way it is. And
Yeah.
it's life as we know it. And
we know it'll change again.
Yeah.
We hopefully not in a negative direction, but I'm not going to hijack. I do have questions for you because I want to know about this mentoring.
But I do have a question for you.
Oh, okay. All right.
Is that
you go first? It's your
just
show.
Can you give us a little update of what's going on since you have left town? Because a lot of people know you, but not everybody know what's been going on with you.
Yeah. I left in October of 2020. My fiance, now wife at the time, was promoted through her job at Belden. Still works for Belden, 18 years now, and is taking over the West Division. And we could do a whole nother episode on salespeople. But of the salespeople that I know and the people that I train, because that's what I also do for Brookdale Senior Living, I've never heard a better salesperson than my wife. So we both got remote work jobs. We're in our offices in our house, and where we figured that life would take us that it would be out of Richmond because of the career opportunities for her outside sales was an opportunity to change our lives. I mean, the income is really good, but she works really hard. And so I had to reboot my career and started it at Brookdale Senior Living about 3 years ago, and got into working with seniors, having experience of having to put my mom in senior living, and it really became a passion for me. And what's hard about living in Arizona is we didn't move to be closer to family. You often see people move back to this area after they retire because that's where family is or friends. There's not a Bumble for couples. You can't. There's not a way to network unless you're in a church or you have work colleagues, but we both work from home. So how do you go and find other people? We release our house. We live in a nicer new development, but we didn't intend to live there even longer than 3 years. So you didn't make a whole lot of connections with neighbors. So when you have the opportunity to come home and hug people and see people, and here's what I found out. I am really good in moderation. I think that I am passionate about a lot of things. I say some stupid stuff. That's probably why I wasn't at the radio station any longer. But the opportunity and glass half full, I took it, and it has been very rewarding. But it doesn't replace, nice weather for the most part. It gets hot, but being able to come home gave me the opportunity to hug people I haven't seen, to listen to them. And I'll wear out my welcome in a week and then I'll have to go home. So That's a little bit about me. I still continue to utilize online media, but one thing that I refuse to do, and I see this, I was on city council when Facebook became a thing, and started utilizing social media to be able to talk to constituents. We had some rules though. You can yell at me all day, call me every name in the book. I'm on city council. I get it, but you can't yell or make fun of or be derogatory to other people that are commenting. I'm not gonna let that fly. Point the fingers at me, but it gave me the opportunity to explain what this bill or legislation that we were reading or whatever. So getting into radio, and then you get, things like Speak Out Richmond, which is now the community bulletin board. And then you got scanners, pages where they're just typing out whatever they hear on the scanner. There's this impetus to have people that have moved away from Richmond come back in and trash it. I told you got to get out of that town. No. I want to highlight what's going on. It's still my hometown. I always think about Kurt Vonnegut, who has a quote that says, I don't know what it is about Hoosiers, but wherever you go, you're going to find a Hoosier doing something good. And I'm paraphrasing a little bit there, but that's kind of it. And I take that to heart. So last thing, and then I know you have a question for me, or I have a question for you. I forgot where we were now. You told me I was going to hijack it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah. This is fully anticipated.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. You didn't even bring any notes. I saw you with papers here before.
Yeah, I had
nothing. Okay. Great. Where was I? Oh,
well, one thing I want to tell you that made me think of something when you were talking about the radio station. Unbeknownst to you at the time, you used to have me on the point and have me come in and talk a little spiel about manpower, whatever. You'd ask me questions, whatever. And I've got to tell you that those times that we did that really led me to have the confidence to try this podcast. And I didn't really think about it until I was just recently thinking, because, the get in front of a live mic and it's not scripted, and whatever you say, it's out there, No. So those opportunities that we had, I think really, when I think back, gave me the confidence to try to do this podcast. And it's still a learning process, and I'm not a broadcasting type person or whatever. And you were really good at it when you were doing it as a profession, and so. But anyway, I just wanted to say that to you.
And I really appreciate hearing that. And I think anybody that has been behind these microphones, and there are several, recordings of podcasts that are done locally, the hardest thing is doing it. It doesn't necessarily matter how great the picture is or how great the microphones. You need to have something to talk about and the passion to continue doing it. It doesn't matter if it's on a daily basis, a weekly basis, or monthly. If you're interested in doing a podcast, then you have to be consistent, and you got to keep doing it, because that's what people expect. But it's so personal, and the connections are so solid when you are in a conversation with somebody, whether you see it or not. And that's what I always liked having you on. We would talk about, hey, I want to know what the job market looks like. What are employers facing right now? Who better to talk to than someone that does nothing but talk to applicants and employers? Right. So that's where you go to the source. And I always loved being on a small radio station that focused on hyperlocal. And that was a real passion. The problem is I took it for granted, I think. I think I was like, big time guy, walk anywhere I want. I'll go out this way and go that way. I'll go through the back door. No, I think it was good for me to step away, because now I see a lot of things from an outside perspective. And I think that can be one thing that really hurts the forward movement that we need in this town, which is you've got a lot of people looking out, not a lot of people that are willing to look in and then share what that looks like, because it's a different perspective and context.
I was talking to Kevin, our producer.
Yeah.
Is that
owner.
Can you give me a thumbs up? Is that who you are?
I don't know. Whatever you want to call me. I've been called a lot worse.
Well, it makes me feel important that I have a producer.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
But I was telling Kevin, I said, I've done 8 podcasts now, and I've enjoyed the process. So I was telling Kevin, I said, I'm really nervous about this one with Phil.
Oh, you've done 2 today.
Yeah.
And because it's coming from a different, this is like a totally organic conversation. And before I did a little bit of research with the people, which as I should, that I was going to interview and try to have some questions I had planned. But this was totally just impromptu, and so it was just part of a little bit of apprehension about it.
But what you have always been great at, and we've known each other for a while, is you're an excellent listener. And the best listeners are the best interviewers. And it's weird because you're thinking, no, I need to have that quip reply, or no, you're listening to what they're saying and then asking a question based on what they said. And that's Howard Stern, that's all the sportscaster. I mean, anybody that does interviewing for a business will tell you the key is just listening. Sure, you need to be prepared, but and you do that very, very well. And some of the engaging content that I've seen, again, just sort of reiterates that some of the folks that we talk to are in a position where they could stay or they could go, and they're making a choice.
Right. So I do want to ask you, because that first job question.
Sure.
What was your first job?
So the first job was my family basically got into the hog farming business with Bill Totebush. Bill had a lot of farms in the area, and we, at the time, price on hogs was good. And so we would buy farms, and we weren't a CAFO, but we had 5 different farms. And at one time, I think we had like 10,000 hogs. So Bill was the finance guy and would come out and mow. And that was always kind of cool because you're like, man, that guy's a doctor and he's out here mowing. And then the rest of us would take care of the hogs. I didn't get paid for that. So the first paid gig was as a busboy at the new Newport Inn in Fountain City. And that was where we had graphic paper outs. That was also something, but that was just kid stuff. The first kind of adulting kind of job. And they put me on the floor one Saturday and said, hey, we're kind of short a server. Do you want to go out there? And I was like, sure. And I hammed it up. I mean, it was awful, Michael. I mean, I'm pouring coffee. I'm shaking hands like, hey there, you get your hair done today? You look pretty good. And I am scoring tons of tips. And it really ticked off the other servers. And they're like, you need to get him back. Get him out of here. Because I did. I just, it felt like it was being on stage.
I can't remember the Newport Inn. I don't know why.
It was Fish Fridays, man. I mean, when they do the all-you-can-eat Fish Fridays, those broasters, you would be caked on. You're trying to go out, you're trying to go on a date, and you're smelling like burnt fish. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't really burnt. It was really good fish, but it was a Newport Inn, or I think that's what it was called then. It's been through several variations.
So you wanted to ask me about Westview, about mentoring.
Well, why do you feel compelled to, you're a busy guy, you got a lot going on, why go and mentor at Westview?
Well, that's interesting. Community and schools, they had a representative come to our church and kind of give a ministry report, because our church supports CIS. And so we like to have people come in and that we give funds to and just kind of tell about the organization, whatever. And so Nicole Stoltz came that day and spoke about it, and looking for volunteers to do it. And, after hearing that, I signed up to do it. Why I do that? I don't know. I mean, it's been my mother always set a great example by serving other people. She still, in her later years, does it to a point of almost that, causes problems for her physically or financially, but, she still has that great desire to serve. And And my father was always served in different ways in the community when he was here. And I think part of it also was just my upbringing in church.
Okay.
And just serving other people. Because the first time I ever did some type of service was I worked on one of those Sunday bus routes in the morning where we would go pick up kids and take them to the church on Sundays. And that was at the time when I attended Hillcrest Baptist Church, and they had a huge bus ministry in the 70s. And we would go, the guy driving the bus, another guy I went to school with, the three of us, we would go on Saturdays in the morning, knock on doors through our bus route, see if people wanted to go to church on Sunday, and we'd come and pick up their kids. And this was from Glen Miller Park all the way down to the post office, like 5th Street.
Sure.
And it was like Main Street over to like J Street, which, these are not affluent families. These are not people with a lot of income. I would say these people were poor.
Okay.
And, so we were just ministering to those people. I did that for about 4 years. And so that was my start in serving the community in some way. But it's just kind of always been something on my heart and something that I want to do.
The reason why I bring it up is because I kind of thought at some point I needed to say something based on what I see going on in my hometown. And where do I think sometimes there are problems that need quick solutions, and there are some that you need some long-range forecasting. And I have watched over the last 3 years, we have lost a lot of what I would consider to be community pillars, individuals, families that have passed. Some have sold their business, sometimes to a corporation, and we are losing some of our history, which to a point you can say it's okay, because a lot of times when we start thinking about events and things going on, we focus on what we used to be. And I thought of if someone were to come in and go, all right, what do you think we can do to fix this? And I said, well, it's not broken, but we need a different mindset. And one of those things that I wanted to talk about was mentoring. When someone has signed up for military service and they put in a 20-year career, they have every right to take off the hat, one final salute, and walk out the door and not look back. But what does the military in that instance have waiting for that tenured opening? There's a rank. There's, people start in basic, drill instructors and basic training and all that. They have an ascension and succession plan that goes in perpetuity. So the general retires, there's somebody else to be there. And one of the things that I think Richmond needs to do, and you're in a position to speak to this in ways that others can. We need a human resources director for the community, so that when someone who has done their service and deserves to retire and go to Florida, that there's someone that's willing to take on that role. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I'm going to go through my 8 episodes of The Hub and see if I can get it all right. Business owner, father, grandfather, mentor, churchgoer, faith-based, works with a Boys and Girls Club. Avid golfer, perhaps, but what are some other interests that I might have missed that are a part of you?
Well, a big part of one thing I do, and I've been this spinning instructor for 20 years.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
And I have a whole network of just acquaintances and friends that I've made over the years doing that. And what I like about it is, we're just a group of people trying to stay active, stay healthy. if I look in the mirror, sometimes I go, is this really doing me any good? But it just going through the exercise and doing it. But quite frankly, outside of working out, I really just love meeting all the different people. And so that's one thing that I do. I don't really talk about a lot, but it's something I've created a network of friends, and even your wife would come, used to come to my class some. So.
Right. The reason why I bring it up is you have every right to at some point say, I have done my time. It's time for me to retire. I mean, that's the goal that we all want. But if you chose to say, I think I'm going to enjoy maybe some warmer weather, or I'm going to do something a little bit different, we have to replace you in that spinning class, in that church, in that mentor group. And it's not on you to do.
Right.
But what is helpful is that as I see driving downtown, and this sign used to be locally owned and now it's owned by a company, it'd be damn hard to raise money in this town right now, because the people that you could rely on, their money is gone or they are. Mm-hmm. And now we're talking about sending an email to a corporation and asking for a donation. And we do well with our nonprofit organizations. But I think one of the things that if you want to keep a community vibrant, you've got to continually recruit stakeholders. So we need people that are willing to go, I don't know much about what Manpower does, but I like it when I can get someone a job. That sounds like fun to me. Mm-hmm. Or I don't know how to fix and repair shoes, but that guy has a monopoly. Now we just needed somebody younger that goes, that looks like a lot of hard work, but with a little social media, some TikTok videos, we could replace boots. That place would be flooded with customers. And we haven't put an initiative behind the community to look at what does it take, not just to hire somebody and convince them to move here, but what does it take to get them connected to a church or to an organization where they have buy-in, where they can feel like they can also be part of the solution. And again, I'm not saying that people haven't earned the right to move away. I did. I moved away. And I just don't know if it was depending on why people pick up and move. Sometimes it's because of more money. And sometimes it's because I just didn't really feel like I belonged. And so how do we do that? How do we find connections to say, if you really want to be involved in an organization, well, here's who you need to go talk to. And take that mentoring from the elementary level and figure out how to find people that there's only two type of people that, and I believe this fully, and I haven't really thought it out. So I'll insult somebody and I'll apologize for it later. I'm really good at apologies. The people that are here either can't leave or they lose something by leaving. Could be a promotion, the opportunity to be the president of the bank, dad's business. And that's what's keeping them here. And eventually the economy locally is so small, it's hard to get that Bob Rosa, your dollar spent locally turns over 7 times. Not when there's the chain grocery store, or not with, so the motivation can't be just on a couple of people, but it's got to be on everybody. And I think that doesn't take money. It takes organization. And one thing that I know about this city is when we all come together to do something and we band together, then it happens. Then it gets fixed.
Well, we have a really strong network of not-for-profit organizations in this community, especially for as large as it is. Yeah. I mean, we have a lot, and I would insult somebody myself if to try to
start naming them.
Yeah, name them all. But we have a lot, and overall there seems to be great engagement in most of them, and so that part's encouraging. Mm-hmm. I think part of what you might be saying, well, who's going to be the next generation to do this work, and I'm not sure. I don't really have an answer myself. I know within, the kids at the Boys and Girls Club, and we try to instill in them a sense of service to the community. And the issue that happens with those kids is that, the numbers start to go down the older they get, their participation. So we want to, part of our goal is to retain the youth as long as we can, so we can have an impact on their lives, and hopefully in areas like service to the community, we keep them long enough so that it ingrains in part of who they are and who they want to be. So that's one answer, to try to retain our youth long enough to instill this value system in them. Now, I don't know what goes on within the public school system to promote this type of thought. Because I'm removed from it. I don't know. Your daughter might be able to speak to it. And the other part that is a challenge is I have two sons, and both of them don't live here.
Yeah.
Now, they chose professions that in some ways would have been challenging for them to stay here.
Sure.
They weren't going to continue in the family business.
Right.
I'm third generation as it is, and we're the generation that they look to screw it up. So and I've worked hard not to. I mean, I've been in it for over 30 years, but who knows what tomorrow may bring. But I'm trying to be cognizant of that statistic and not become part of it. But if our kids don't stay here, even though we've trained them up the best that we can,
right,
they're not going to hear to carry on that tradition.
See, I would give you the counter argument to that. And I appreciate what you're saying. I think let them go. Almost push them out of the community, because you don't know how good you got it until you get to look at it in your rearview mirror, headed on Highway 66, going to a totally other part of the country. Mm-hmm. It's not the buildings. We know it's not the climate. What's the reason people stay here? It's the people. But the problem that we have is we're not giving them a reason to come back. Let them go to college, and then we're going to work to find you something. Because I think there are a lot of businesses that would sell their business when they were ready, but if they could give it to someone who kept it local and locally owned, they might sell a little bit cheaper. They might extend the terms a little bit. And that's not fair to put that on the business owners that all these nonprofits are also continually having to ask to get support. But I do think that part holds a conversation, because I am now, having lived in Arizona and looking back at Richmond, we've tried to find synergy to all say the same thing at times when it comes to marketing. And I worked a lot with the EDC, and they've had an incredible year of selling the location of Richmond. The last 10 years, there's been a lot of investment because of where we are. And we can agree with that, right? I mean, that's right. Manufacturing, logistics. Our location gives us access within a 4-hour drive to be anywhere, really. But for downtown, where we're recording this, our location's terrible. For the east side, for the west side, our location is terrible. So we need to focus on our location when we're talking to some folks about investing here, because of how quickly you can get your stuff out. But it's also the same thing to say our location is one of our biggest detriments, because it's too easy to go other places to shop, to eat. And you're not going to get marquee stores to locate here unless you change the population dynamics and the demographics. So that leads me to my other more pie in the sky thought. I remember talking about this years and years and years on the radio, and people would look at me like I had 3 heads. And I said at the time, and this could actually be the reason why I got in trouble. This could be it. You've got to figure out your one thing. And I'm sorry, it's not jazz. And I'm sorry, it's not Millionaires Row. And I'm sorry, it's not a solar eclipse. You need your one thing, and you've got to make it big, because of where we are, it's so easy to go right around and go, oh, yeah. Now, maybe at one time we might have been able to say it was Tom Raper. I don't know. I mean, there's some reason why people were coming into town. And I think the state, the local officials get after putting a casino where the old Reed Hospital is, and you're going to have to put something like a sphere. I'm talking something ginormous, bigger than the arch, bigger than the cross, bigger than the candle, something big that's lit up, that's fun. I'm not saying you got not a restaurant or anything, but something as big as the Eiffel Tower at Kings Island, something that big on that property that people go, what's that? What is that? And you could do it. And there's always the detractors. There's always people, and I'm not a gambler. I just know that every other day in Arizona, I have a casino flyer, I have a sports betting flyer, and the money generated goes some into public education and goes into roads. So I'm not saying that that's going to fix everything, but Richmond has to figure out its one thing that it's going to talk about. If I asked you, what's the one thing in Newcastle? What's the one thing to do in Newcastle or to go and see?
Well, I would say I used to always think of their gym.
The gym, the Basketball Hall of
Right.
Fame.
Mm-hmm.
So enthusiasts for basketball, there's signage, they have their one thing. If I rolled into town and I went, hey, just got here to Newcastle, what's there to do? Where should I go? Everybody would not have to be trained to go, well, have you been to the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame? No. One of our things here is we have a lot of cool stuff, and that's great, but we need the one thing to bring them in and then figure out what they're interested in and then push it out. And then it would generate revenue that we could also use to maybe do some enhancements on our own.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you say the casino would be a great idea.
It's only the first idea I can come up with. It's
Right.
not the best.
Right. I mean, I could see where it could accomplish a lot of things that you said. The act of gambling within a casino tends to not enrich a lot of lives. And I just don't, I would hope we could find something more productive than that. But you know, they're building casinos. I was in Vegas not long ago for manpower meetings, and just tons of stuff going on there. You know, so I mean, gambling is alive and well, and it doesn't appear to be. Vegas doesn't seem to be in any kind of decline. Only, I mean, they put millions of dollars just to hold a weekend race.
Yeah.
When we were there, and they were putting up scaffolding for luxury boxes and for bleachers and everything, just for a single race.
Why did Manpower decide to host their group meetings as a corporation or franchise partner? Why do it in Vegas?
This was a franchise group, and it was interesting. This time around, after we had it there, people weren't so happy about it.
Okay.
I think the main reason why is just the access to all the different places you can stay, flying into an airport that's fairly easy to get a one-way ticket from about anywhere in the nation. But overall, I think that group in general, and that we're just talking, the franchise group is a smaller group these days, but you know, they're looking, a lot of the owners now, they just want to go somewhere where we can have our business meetings and then move on. They used to pick locations where there's a lot of like fun stuff you could do.
Right.
But now, you know, I'm on the board now of the franchise group, and our discussions have been lately toward maybe getting back to basics, going to Milwaukee, where the national headquarters for Manpower is located, and trying to get back to the basics. So I don't know if I'm making your point at all, but that's kind of why we were there. But I saw after the meeting, people are like, I don't know if I want to come here anymore. You know,
Yeah.
so.
And I appreciate what you're saying. And in some ways, it helped me with my point, because no one would ever booked nonstop flights to Vegas without something to do. And there's a lot of things to do. There just also happens to be that. And I've been in Vegas twice for a convention and then just for a weekend because some people that we know here go there. So they go there, we meet them there, and then we decide that, Ocean's 11 is not real life and Vegas is a lot slimier than that. But my thought is, how many times do you think you've been in a meeting and heard, we need a convention center? How many years
that's
in all the meetings? Okay.
Ongoing point of
You
discussion.
don't have the reason to stop. It's not going to be because we have really nice people in really old buildings and we've got this little depot district thing that was all managed by individual investment. And I know the depot district is one of our kind of shining stars that we have here because the owners flipped off the local government and said, we don't care, we're doing it anyway. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing that can be harmful at times because you can get yourself in trouble, but that's what's missing. Well, the state told us we couldn't put in a casino. Rattlesnakes. What else can we do? But I don't have a better idea, but I know there's a lot of people, what was the number? 6 million cars across 70? Mm-hmm. Usually stuck for a long line. What's wrong with your eyesight? What's wrong with you're the crossroads of America. Why do you have a terrible I-70? Another discussion, not your fault. But you need to figure out what will pull them off. And then, hey, maybe it is. And we were talking about this with Kevin. That bike path could be really good if you had one of those little pedal bars.
Right.
Okay. A casino is indoors, so you're not dealing with weather inclement. You're not inclement weather. Anybody that comes off the interstate is going to talk about, that's that thing over there. Oh, well, we did something. And it can't necessarily be about museums or history. We got all of that. But I can't figure out how to start bleeding or rippling effect local economy and changing things like the downtown and other things without a whole lot of individual private investment or a whole lot of tax dollars. You and I know this. Top 10 employers in Wayne County, 3 are privately held? Everybody else is tax supported, tax based. Well, we're losing that tax base. I spoke with a friend of mine who works at a local bank, and he said, Phil, did you know that for the first time in Richmond's history, more than half of all the property in Richmond is owned by someone or some group that doesn't live in Richmond? We better fix it now.
Yeah, I don't like that. I don't like that as it relates to this to our downtown buildings and some of the properties down here. And it happens, and then you find about it after the fact.
Right.
And now you can't do anything about it. There's a parking lot about a block from here that's behind several businesses that are trying to make a go at it. Some restaurants, some boutiques, whatever. But there's some guy from out of state that owns the parking lot, and it wasn't that long ago that he just had everybody towed out of there. And because it's mine, I bought it. I'm not doing anything with it, but you better not park your car. And the people that were parking there were patrons to these businesses. And then he's put some type of crazy price to sell, so I don't think he truly is interested in selling or waiting for just someone to come along that for some reason is willing to pay this exuberant price for it.
And there's a lot of corporations, LLCs, they're all tucked in and hidden away, so it's hard to find them. And we've dealt with that problem in this community, and Richmond still came back and got it. It took a while, but we got the property back that was really dilapidated, and now it's a blank space, which I'm hoping to put a casino there, or at least a wave pool, a water park that's indoors. But it's hard to get every kid to pay $50 to come in. I digress. A lot of vacant apartment is stayed vacant because they need the write-off. And so they go where the numbers are. And if this part of the state is got a population increase, well, then we're going to invest there and we'll keep this other building vacant. But local legislators can fix that. They can impose a different tax rate for vacant property. It just takes a group of people to go, I'm tired of doing this. I'm tired of seeing this go down. What do we need to do? And it'll happen, but it's got to take the push, maybe gently in the back a little bit. No, not all the way over the cliff, to make some dynamic changes. And the one thing I also thought about coming in, which I think is definitely going to get me in trouble, is Wayne County government is sitting on a pile of cash that is taller than the building that we're sitting in. And I get it. There were lawsuits that were won and payouts that were done and generally good fiscal management. And what you would always hear is this $140 million, whatever it is. Well, we're waiting in case we need that for a rainy day. Now, Wayne County has a lot more area to deal with than the city of Richmond. But when do you think it gets bad enough to need to and put that infusion? Now, what I would do is I would say, you want a business? Let's invest in you. Let's help you develop the plan. Let's find and rehab the building. And so if nothing else, if the business doesn't survive, we at least revive the building. And then maybe somebody else comes in. But we have to start figuring out what are the things that the generation of people like my daughter that are mid-20s, what would get them to come back? Is it a salary? Is it starting a business? Is it, hey, I've always been passionate about Cope Environmental Center. Okay, then what do we need to do? And it takes very intentional conversations, and everybody's got their own thing going on, but no one's come together and banged their heads and went, we're running out of space.
Right. Well, yeah, I mean, everybody kind of has their own their own thing going on. I mean, I kind of fall in that category. I mean, I'm going to be 60 years old this year.
That's right. Congratulations.
We have a family business that we're trying to operate well. Yeah. I'm not near retirement.
No.
So I'm trying to do that. I have 5 grandchildren that don't live here. So part of me wants to try to be a part of their lives.
Right.
So, and my sets of kids live 6 hours in opposite directions. So I'm investing time to try to visit them, spend time with them. I'm super involved in my church. I think I'm fairly well involved in the Boys and Girls Club and these other things and this isn't to put attention on me. I'm just saying these are things that I have passion for that I do. And so there's only so many hours in the day for me to go out and be a big community cheerleader to try to bring a casino to Richmond.
I understand.
I mean,
and part of that's because it's a casino, and we can debate that later. Because I'm with you. It's not I'm not saying it's the best idea or the only idea, but it's not your fault. Richmond isn't in that situation because a good business owner committed to their church let their kids move away. They chose careers. It's not on you to fix. But anybody that runs for local office that only talks about we need more police or we need better roads or we're really going to work together with the state, they're not looking so internally focused at what are the things that are going to start bringing people into town instead of giving you what's going to be the ultimatum. You're going to have to make a choice. You're going to go where the grandkids are, or you're going to work like hell to get them back here. Mm-hmm. And families in this town are doing that forever. And we just had, the thing is, going back to that military example, when the general retired, we had somebody ready to go. We had the next level in. And what we've thought is, well, it's Richmond. I mean, we're not Indianapolis. Some cases that, thank God for that, but we've got a really good location. Well, that language needs to change.
There's organizations that exist. Now, you mentioned city government and leadership there. We have new leadership. I mean, mayor is only 17 days in, so it's kind of hard to give some type of a grade of what he's doing. I mean, he's going to have see what he does. with
Well,
it. And then we also have, when I think of other community supported organizations, I think of the EDC. I think of the Chamber of Commerce. I don't know if there's another one that falls in the category, but you got the city, the EDC,
Foundation,
the Chamber. I don't know what they're doing together to have a vision, a collective vision where they go out and say, this is what we got to do for our community.
Well, the EDC is really good at looking at manufacturing, logistics, industry. They're not going to be so good at helping out retail. The Chamber of Commerce, they're the cheerleaders. They're the ones that are going, all right, we got this, and now we're going to do this week, and we're going to do this. We're going to do this ribbon cutting. And then you've got people that could fund initiatives by issuing things like challenge dollars to fix it. I'll give the mayor a grade right now. I've known Ron Oler for a long time. He gets an A. You know why he gets an A? He got elected. That was actually his job. Mm-hmm. He can't fix this, and it's not his fault. You've got 3 roads that are state-owned. You've got a shrinking tax base. You've got investment investment from outside owners that's restricted from trying to protect it because of other state laws or federal laws. What he can do is try to rally some people together or try to fire off an initiative. But it's not going to be a single person that does it unless the unlikely thing happens is that there is some individual that just loves Richmond that just got $1 billion or $10 billion. And we keep looking for that. And we keep looking for the grants and the matching grants. And then we're going to be able to do this. And then we don't put the person in place that actually pushes to get that done. And we don't have the people that are saying, I get it. It's not an economic development project from an EDC perspective. It's not from there. But it's me being the kid that you would mentor in Westview. And then staying connected to that individual.
Well, I don't know about the billion or billions of dollars.
Well, but that's unlikely, right?
Yeah, it seems like the biggest fund that you've identified so far in this conversation would be the money the county has.
Well, and I get it. They want to be conservative. Mm-hmm. But what could you do to say things like, we really want to rehab this building. Who's got a vision for it? And then partner with people that are really intelligent about, yeah, you can make that work, or that might be difficult. And maybe that one thing pops up. Maybe that one thing comes together, because we've got a lot of cool little things, but it's just too easy to leave Richmond and go to the big things or go to locations or the malls or all that sort of stuff. But I think whatever that one thing is, it can't be once every 74 years. And it can't be dependent on climate. You're going to have to put something under a roof, and that something needs to be big enough or look bold enough to put on some signage around, or you embrace your marketing around that thing. And I'm okay if it's not a casino. I just don't have a better idea.
Right. No, and I'm not a big fan of the casino idea, but I don't have a better idea. So, I mean, I don't like people that have ideas and people poo-poo them.
Yeah.
But then they don't have any other suggestions.
Conventions, concerts. Think about the number of touring bands that could come across I-70 in a given year. Mm-hmm. Because that's the only way they can make money, by the way. They're not making it on selling albums. Now, I'm not saying you're going to get Taylor Swift or something, but you fund an entertainment sector that might get people to stay for a weekend. I get it. I'm not a gambler either. I don't really like Vegas, but I know there's enough people that do that might also watch a Lynyrd Skynyrd tribute band.
I'm surprised that our community doesn't have some type of very substantial sports complex, because there's so many youth teams out there, there's AAU teams and all. I mean, it's way larger outside of just playing for your school anymore. I mean,
right.
And I've just been surprised that we haven't built something like that to bring people into the community for these tournaments or whatnot, because I think there's probably a market for it. Yeah. And it doesn't seem like it's a super complicated thing to try to put together.
Well,
except outside of the money.
And I don't want to poo-poo that idea, because I agree with you. You see sports complexes around the metro area in Indianapolis and Dayton that have it looks like a mile of soccer fields, and then there's indoor pickleball and there's basketball hoops because they can host these tournaments, baseball fields, softball fields. I think one thing to be careful about is when some of that convention center idea started popping about, they started talking about the east side, west side got ticked. And then downtown business owners got ticked. Well, why is it going over there? They're just going to go in there, they're going to stay there, they're never going to come around. It would be nice if there was enough land to develop a sports complex that was sort of centrally located. And no offense to our neighbors that are on the outside, all the surrounding communities that are in the area, but more of those outside, that live in Hagerstown or maybe in New Paris or even Eaton, Ohio, they are still coming here to do a lot of their business. They are coming here. What we need is for something big here to pull in the regional effect. And then you do something like a sports complex. If you can figure out how to get it centrally located where nobody feels like they're slighted because, well, if all these people are driving up from the south, well, no one's doing that. They're not going to do that. They're coming off the interstate. So, but then you got to find the land and buy the land. And who's got the money to do that? So, but it's every day you can look at something to fix. You can drive around town and the same potholes that were here 3 years ago are still here. I think it's just become a thing. It's just part of the network.
Yeah,
I'm teasing, but there's so many positive things. And so far,
you're speaking potholes as a metaphor.
Correct. Okay. But then there are some. I mean, there's some that are just there. But my point is, you can look at every corner of the room that you're in or outside the stoplight that you're at and see something that needs to be fixed or see something that's gone down too far. But it takes a lot different focus to look at the fact that there are strong, vibrant people here. They give a damn. And it's never, ever going to be our location that represents what Richmond's history is. It's always going to be the people. And Michael, we're running out of people. Yeah. So what does it take to at least get some invigorated stuff there? Did we do well on our podcast today? Is there a question I should ask you? How are you feeling? How are you doing? I was on a rant. I've been on a soapbox.
Yeah, well, you've been away from the microphone for a long time, so there's just a lot of built-up frustration over 3 years of not being at the mic. So I'm just kind of letting you go, letting you do your thing.
Anybody want to prank call the radio station?
No. Okay. And hey, can I ask you a question? This is something that ties into manpower. How do you repair a relationship with employee and employer? Sometimes employees just screw up, and policy is, hey, we got to let you go. Mm-hmm. Sometimes, often, maybe even most of the time, it ends up working out better for both people in the end. You feel bad now, but it gets better, and you find out that, hey, life is actually better on the other side, and it turns out to be a good thing. When do you go back and try to either say bygones be bygones, or how it shouldn't have to be that delicate of a question to ask you, but how do you have good relationships with people that or how do you coach other businesses that you work with? This is the right move now. Doesn't make them a bad person. And maybe they can come back at some point. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I mean, sometimes we've gone back to a client about someone had worked there previously and like to try to get them back in.
Yeah.
And so the pitch that I try to make in those cases is trying to demonstrate what the person's been through and what he or she's done after leaving that would warrant some type of a change in behavior, change in focus or whatever. So that's how, we'll approach clients a lot. But, and these are cases where they're going as a temporary first.
Sure.
And so it's a little different than if you're to try to get somebody to bring somebody back on full time, because if they're coming in as a temporary first, the person kind of come in and kind of make a case for why maybe they should be brought back in totally full time.
Yeah.
So that's one way of doing it. I think when we have to remove somebody from a job, we're better served if we will take some extra time and sit down with them and kind of review what's gone wrong and try to offer up some recommendations that might give them hope.
Teachable moments.
And so it's interesting. I like having, or I don't shy away from having those kind of conversations with people. I have found that sometimes people don't want to have those conversations, or they're real backward about trying to do that.
And there's egos that get involved, and it's hard to say you're sorry. And not that I'm trying to get advice for you, because I'm going to head up to Bureau Broadcasting when we're done here. I'm saying there's a lot of people that things go wrong, and then enough time has to kind of clear the air, and then there's opportunities to work together again. There's sometimes ego gets in the way, and I don't know how you diffuse that, but you do it well.
Yeah, any times that I've felt that maybe on a personal level there was angst with me and somebody else, and I didn't really understand what it was exactly. Now sometimes but if I really want to have some type of reconciliation with that person, I've just gone and say, hey, I don't like where we're at right now, and whatever I've done to create this situation, I need you to bring it to light for me, and I want you to please forgive me for that, and maybe we're getting.
You're really good at saying sorry too. I love this.
But I just, you have to die to that. You can't. You don't have to be right. You have to die to having to be right.
Right.
That's what I think.
I agree.
I've really screwed up a lot at that so I can think of a situation with me and somebody that's happened in the last year, and I sat back and looked at my behavior with that, and I just found out that really I was out of line. And I had to really step back, and a lot of it was just pride, personal pride on my part, and the need to be right. And maybe I was right, I don't know, but that shouldn't have been the most important thing, me being right. It needed to be the relationship with that person. So I don't know if we're getting too philosophical for you, but that's just
you hear
answer your question.
It does, because I don't think you hear some people say, this is our moment. And we're talking about our lives, and maybe it's a personal achievement, maybe it's something. And then we all have these peaks and valleys that we're going through that's outside of a workplace. It's outside of a community, but I don't know that I believe that. I believe that every life has a lot of different moments. And it's that collection of moments that when we get to a certain age, we look back on and go, am I happy with that? And if I'm not, what do I want to change about that going forward? And I think for me, I think it's a lot about maturity. I don't always act like it because I want to be the fun guy. But I take relationships very seriously. And one of the most important relationships in any person's life is how they got along with their boss. And that is where I think a lot of your expertise and a lot of what you have to give turns out to be the hub that supports the community.
Yeah, I think that we've been blessed at our office to have a lot of people come and stay for a long period of time and work for us, and a lot of seniority, and I don't know what the secret sauce really is. I mean, we like to think that we're a family, but that's not always in the best interest of a business to be heavy in that way,
Right.
because then people they become too focused on that, and they kind of forget that, hey, we're trying to make some money here. We're trying to keep the lights on, and we need to make profits. So you can go too far in that way. One thing that I try to do, and I want to be better this year than I was last year, is just trying to understand the things that are going on in people's lives, and giving them the freedom to kind of handle those, regardless if it means they maybe have to leave early one day or need to be gone for something. I mean, for myself, I wanted to be able to be involved in my children's lives as they were young. I mean, can you just think back to your kids when they were real young, how fast that it's gone?
It always is.
And I know that feeling. And if I have employees that have younger children like that, I try to empathize with that and try to create an environment where they can be there for their family at the same time where it doesn't detriment the overall workings of the company. And hopefully we have a mutual respect that hey, that they'll in turn have loyalty to the company because we've been loyal to their interests as a person.
But isn't that, and this is something that's beneficial for anybody listening, that is the definition of flexible work to me, is having the boss that is also flexible. Now, not every job can do that. I get it. But I think that's very progressive of you. And I'm not just trying to blow smoke up your bottom either. I'm serious that I think employers that have a mindset of appreciating what someone is bringing with them to work and allowing them to also work that out within the certain, confines of what we need to do as a job, keeps people loyal, and they go, hey, he's more than my boss. She's more than just the person that writes my paycheck. And those are everlasting.
But there's one of the industries prevalent in our community is plastics, right?
Very much so.
And so how is plastic made? It's extruded. They take the, help me out.
So they take something.
The little flakes that whatever it is. My mind's blank right now, but it's put into the machine. It's melted and it's extruded out in sheets or shapes or whatever.
Right.
And one thing that in manufacturing like that, once you start that machine running, you're running a good product, and it's a process to get it going. You don't want to just shut the machine down. You can't.
No,
because there's lots of costs associated with starting it up again, getting it running, get quality product coming through. So it's not like, hey, Michael Allen kind of wants to leave early today because he's got kindergarten graduation, but they're already struggling to keep the line going as it is. And if I leave, they shut it down, and it's huge for the company. So you can't be that. I mean, there's certain common sense things that you just can't do in manufacturing like that with those type of employees, because you just can't. It can't be done. Now, if you can figure out some way, I guess, but it's very hard to ask a company to have kind of a flexible attitude, especially when it involves around manufacturing.
It's a direct metaphor for this exact same explanation that you just gave me is also true about this community. You can't stop it. You can't stop it on a dime. It takes a whole lot of money to get it back going, and you need people to be there. Extruding plastic in this town right now, and what that process is almost exactly what it takes in order to keep a community thriving as well. Now, that was my radio professional tie back in circular moment, because it's just a great way to get people to recognize that there are some things you can't stop on a dime, But if you do, it's going to shut down, it's going to break, and we got a whole lot more invested in trying to get it back up and running. And maybe we don't have those resources. And so the next best thing is, okay, well, then we're just going to move on and go build something new elsewhere. And that's specifically, that analogy is exactly what's happening here. Now what do we do?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
You want to go get a cocktail? Are there ads that we need to read? Can I say something about, I don't know, as a kind of a tie-in, the people that are willing to invest their lives, their family, their into businesses to help other people are not thanked near enough. We ask in no uncertain terms to get donations and can you help us out here and what can you do? And there is the employees that work for local community partners that see the need to be able to give back in whatever way that works, whether it's monetary or volunteerism. We got to get better at thanking those people too. And not just with a plaque and not just at a banquet, whether, but just, hey, appreciate it. I've been driving around this town and going to places all the time. And I've always made an effort to go, hey, thanks for being here today. Because they didn't have to. At 0 degree temperatures, you didn't have to.
My old school go-to is a simple handwritten note. Yeah. I can't, I'm not consistent with it, but I try to do it. Try to recognize people or something's impressing me. And I tell you, I get more feedback from that than anything else that I do.
Are you going to write me a thank you note for appearing on your show?
After I write a note to Ron Oler for coming on the show.
Well, that's all right. Well, you got to have the mayor. And we'll both write a handwritten thank you to
but
Kevin.
I mean,
Kevin needs to get a thank you.
That sounds, yeah. He wrote, well, he wrote me a just a really kind note around Christmas time. Appreciate the working together, but also just being a friend. That, Kevin, I don't know if I told you, and I'm telling you now, that meant a lot to me.
There you go.
And
Well, I appreciate it.
I wish you had some Kleenexes out here because I think I might cry here in a minute.
Well, I kind of got that from Phil.
Yeah.
I was in some moments long way back when, and he said, just write him a note.
Yeah.
And then I realized, and then I got a couple myself, and I was like, man, that means a lot.
Yeah.
Just to take the time to do that because we're so technology, text, calls, that kind of stuff.
I mean, you can text somebody. I mean,
yeah.
but it takes a little bit more effort to sit down and kind of handwrite out the note to somebody and address it, put it in the mail. I mean, it takes a little bit of effort.
It
or
takes
just
a
drop
lot.
it off. Drop it off at wherever they work at or whatever.
Well, it takes a lot of effort if you want to be able to read mine. So I got
Well,
I got to hold still.
I was able to read pretty
get
good.
a dictionary out.
I got the gist of your note.
But you remember that, and that's something that you automatically, feel something for that person that was willing to go that way. And all we're talking about is a handwritten note, so it's kind of cool. I'll look forward to your note.
Do you know the name John Ford?
Like John Ford from Richmond, John
Yeah.
Ford?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Well, John, he was really good about writing notes. He's in hospice now at Friends Fellowship, and
I knew he was at Friends Fellowship.
Yeah, and just an incredible person. Just lived a wonderful life. Great believer, great businessman, great community involved person in the community, and I remember a few times he's written me a few notes that just made my eyes want to water up, because it just meant a lot to hear from somebody like him and thanking you for what you've done or something. And, so there's lots of people out there that have been an inspiration. That my mom's a great note writer or card sender, and, I hope that that's something that I can continue to do and improve on because I do know how it makes me feel. And I do know how it's made other people feel.
Yeah, that's really good, and I guess our best to John and family. I mean, it's difficult, and it's also hard when you see another community member that we're not going to be able to utilize those unbelievable qualities.
Yeah, I don't know if everybody. I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of people know John. I mean, he's up there in years now, but I mean, a lot of people who've been involved in the community, like my father, who now lives in Florida full time. But I mean, people like that would definitely know who John Ford is.
Yeah.
And, you know, in my opinion, he's a community icon.
Yeah. Tall, worked at Purina for a long time.
Yeah.
Purdue
National sales
Right.
Manager for them. Kind of had a side gig as a photographer, did a lot of really great photography work. And,
well, he didn't need the tripod. He's kind of tall.
Yeah, he
You
was his
stand
own
on over
personal,
and get it.
yeah.
That's right. And by the way, for your dad living in Florida, that's totally fine. He's earned every right of that. It's totally because he had his succession plan. The general took off his hat, goes to Florida, and now here you are doing a podcast called The Hub.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I've enjoyed this.
I don't know.
It's I think I'm going to go home and my wife's going to ask me, how'd it go with Phil? I said, I have no idea what we talked about.
Well,
it just like flew by.
It did. And I don't know. It's probably going to be longer. And I appreciate the opportunity to come in. Keep doing this.
Thank you.
If you need ideas, if you need stuff, the community can seek out and say, hey, I think this is a great story for someone, because this could be the spark that gets them connected. And there's great opportunity there. I just know it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work in the background from the technical side, but it's a lot of work organizing this and showing up.
No, I've enjoyed it. And the whole goal was just to kind of help spotlight our community, just another way to cheerlead what's going on in the community, because I've been here basically my whole life and I'm not going anywhere. So whatever I can do, just to keep cheerleading on this community, I want to try to do.
Right.
I mean, and maybe that's just the thing, is that, we need to take, because, hey, I've been just as guilty as anybody to be critical about certain things about the community. But we need to maybe focus those things in the right direction, to just in a professional way share those with the people that need to hear those. But at the same time, we need to be encouragers to our leaders and what they're doing, and just speak well of our community in general, because there's lots to speak well about. One thing I'm extending this, but one thing that I've got a lot since COVID was that people just don't want to work anymore. Have you heard that saying? I hear all the people.
But you hear
they say to me, people just don't want to work anymore.
But do you think that that's the same demographic? I mean, is what's in common with all the people that are saying that to you? Are they a bit older, some retired, maybe some later in years? Are they in management positions?
Yeah,
it's not kids.
It's not kids.
No.
But it's working. It's working people. It's people. Yeah. I'm not trying to be critical of anyone, but I just hear that a lot, or someone that knows the business I'm in, they go, yeah, people just don't want to work anymore, do they? And I'm trying not to fall in that trap, because it's not true.
It's not true.
There's thousands of people at work in this community right now.
Yes.
It's people do want to work. Are there people that aren't working that should? Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
They're making choices for whatever reason not to work, but we can't lump the whole community, the whole workforce into some basket and say, oh, nobody wants to work, because that's just not true.
Well,
it's a fraction of the workforce that maybe doesn't desire to work, or doesn't understand that maybe life would be better for them if they were working, as far as their self-image and just, contributing to something, but no, that is not true. People do want to work. People are committed to contributing to their company, to their community, right. And that's something we need to hear a lot less of.
I agree. I will say, as a counterpoint, nobody likes going to work. It would be really great if we all didn't have to work. But what we find is we find value, we find self-worth, We feel like we've earned the things that we buy. And then it's just a matter of finding the job that you will go and want to go and do. Now, not every day. Sometimes you got to fight through it. That's that integrity. That's too cold outside. I really don't want to go have to work, but I want to go and work because I want to have the things that I have earned the right to do. And I have a sense of responsibility not to let my colleagues. And so teamwork becomes a part of it and all those sort of things. But if you're not happy or you're thinking that you're going to work, maybe you should consider calling Manpower of Richmond. You can call them up at 966-2664. Maybe even check a look at the job listing site at mprichmond.com.
Yes.
We got jobs.
Phil. You know, one thing you got me thinking of one more. We got to wrap this up, but there is, it's interesting. We've bought into billboard advertising for a while, and the billboard that we did several years ago that I had so many people call me, left me voice messages, wrote me a note, an email, was when we had the blue background and on it said, "Work is good."
Work is good.
And and I had so many people say something. And then our recent, for January, we resurrected it, a form of it a little bit. And again, people sent me notes or whatever. And that resonates with people that, work is a good thing. It's not bad.
Work is a very good thing.
Yes.
And who came up with that work is good thing? Was that you or me? Because we were in like a serious powwow.
I think I'm going to have to take credit for that.
I think so too. I honestly think you said, what if we did something like just talking about that going to work is good? Work is good is good.
Well, where it came from really is the Life is Good t-shirt.
That's right.
Yeah. And it was just a play off of that. And I hope that's not, I'm going to get a lawsuit.
You're not, but I remember that meeting specifically where we thought every now and then a gem comes to mind, and to put 3 words on a billboard, very plain, stands out. Mm-hmm. Now you can work that message in any other kind of directing or marketing plan that you have, but you started with something that resonated with people that were young, people that are currently working, maybe even people that are retired, that have retirement benefits because work is good. Whatever it is, but it means so many different things to so many people. So a very simple message like that broadcast in that way that was fun.
Yeah, I think we did some radio commercials.
We did.
We put some together with that.
Lots on social media, but usually the idea comes from a life experience. And I always tell people, if you're thinking about marketing, if you're thinking about what you do and where you listen and where you should invest and all of those sorts of parts, make sure you're putting your own physical life experience into that process. What do you do when you wake up in the morning? Is it grab the phone? Is it check the emails? Is it turn on the radio? Is it going to get a cup of coffee? Okay, talk about your day. What do you see? Well, I see businesses, I see billboard signs, I'm listening to something that's on the radio. And then you could start to piece together how to make an effective marketing plan if your target is also people like you. Right. If it's not, then you got to change it. And you got to find out what those people do every day. Mm-hmm. But always put in your personal experience of how you find things to invest and put your money in. And then marketing is really simple. Yeah.
Awesome.
You could go to YouTube.
Yeah.
Where people are watching us now. We got to end this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Phil, it's so good to see you.
It is a pleasure.
I miss seeing you on a regular basis, but I've just really enjoyed working with you over the years and just our back and forth. And so we'll just have to kind of see if this casino idea resonates here in the community or not.
Bet on it.
Brother, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Appreciate
it.
Michael Allen from Manpower. We are a national brand, yet locally owned franchise. We are familiar with the challenges businesses face. It's tough recruiting and retaining qualified employees. That's why working with Manpower is a smart, cost-effective solution. Our entire focus is talent acquisition. We'll manage your hiring and training and provide ongoing customized support. Since 1966, we have been your community-invested partner, uniquely positioned to help eliminate the hassles and save you time and money. Let us help. Contact Manpower today.